These verses are going to be rough today and even tough. It's about hurt. We're all going to be hurt some time of our life. That's why it's called life. But what makes hurt confusing and hard is when it comes from unexpected people and places. It's when we are hurt that we want to isolate and self-protect. And this can become dangerous to our hearts and not even safe for our hearts. Listen to what C.S. Lewis said about hurt and isolation. He said, to love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything and your heart will certainly be wrung and even possibly broken. If you want to make sure of keeping your heart intact, you must give your heart to no one. Wrap it up carefully round with hobbies and little luxuries. Avoid all entanglements. Lock it up safe in the coffin of selfishness. But in that casket, safe, dark, motionless, and airless, your heart will change. It will not be broken or soft. It will become unbreakable, impenetrable, and irredeemable. Wow. Welcome to the 260 Journey. And today in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, Paul speaks to something that has affected all of us, and that's hurt. But not just any kind of hurt that happens from Christian on a Christian. It's when the source of your problems comes from a place and a person that you would expect better and even more from. Let me read to you something Paul says when you have been affected by hurt in the church. This is 1 Corinthians 5, 11 and 12. But I'm saying that you shouldn't act as if everything is just fine when one of your Christian companions is promiscuous or crooked, flip with God or rude to friends, gets drunk or becomes greedy and predatory. You can't just go along with this, treating it as if it's acceptable behavior. Listen to verse 12. I'm not responsible for what the outsiders do, but don't we have some responsibility for those within our community of believers? One version says it like this in 1 Corinthians 5:11. But now I'm writing to you that you must not associate with anyone who claims to be a brother or sister, but who is sexually immoral, greedy, an idolater, slanderer, a drunkard, a swindler. And then he says, don't even eat with such people. Forgiveness is never optional for us as Christians. Forgiveness is a mandate. When someone hurts me or offends me, I must forgive. How come? Because God has forgiven me. Listen to Ephesians 4:32. We forgive each other as Christ has forgiven us. There is no other way to read that. But now something that is very important. I used to think that I forgive you for your offense and your hurt, and now we go to eat at Chili's or Applebee's. But Paul says something that's very insightful. He says, if brothers or sisters in the church have dangerous flesh patterns, he says, be careful about even eating with them. This is deep. We can forgive and exercise caution of proximity, it seems. It is important to define the difference, listen to this, of forgiving and giving. You can give forgiveness without giving proximity. Forgiveness must be done completely without reservation. Giving is caution that I have to exercise based on another person's repentance and flesh patterns. There may be flesh patterns that are healthy for your soul and even damaging for your life. I can love you and forgive you without giving you access to my life due to destructive habits that you want to continue with. That's what Paul was saying. He was reminding us that even though it's called the church, there are a lot of people that are there that are still under construction. This little poem is so true. To dwell above with the saints we love, that will be grace and glory. To live below with the saints we know, now that's another story. It is biblically acceptable at times to distance myself from certain believers that could be abusive or even toxic to my soul. Remember, forgiveness is not an option, but proximity is, and we must be careful. It takes one person to forgive, but two people to reconcile. Forgiveness and reconciliation are different. Reconciliation starts with repentance, and forgiveness starts with me. Always remember that the pain of hurt is never wasted. We are told that pearls are the product of pain. When the shell of an oyster is chipped or pierced by a worm or a boring parasite, a foreign substance, usually a grain of sand, gets into that oyster. Then inside of the oyster shell is made up of a lustrous substance called nacre. When a grain of sand gets into the shell, the nacre cell gets busy. They cover the grain of sand with layer after layer of nacre in order to protect the soft body of the oyster. The result is that a beautiful pearl is formed. An oyster which has not been hurt does not grow a pearl, for a pearl is a healed wound. Have you been hurt by an unkind word of a friend? Have you been accused of saying something that you never said? Have you worked hard in a church and had no one express appreciation? Have your ideas been rebuffed? Then grow a pearl. Cover your hurts and your rebuffs with layer after layer of love. And just remember that an oyster which has not been hurt does not grow a pearl, for a pearl is a healed wound. Thanks for joining the 260 Journey.